Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am Grandmaster Caden Trofe, and super excited to be here for the North American Corporate Chess League. This is season 13, the finals, the knockouts. Now, this was something introduced just a couple of seasons ago where these teams play 6 weeks, 18 games total, and it all now leads to this moment right here. Everything on the line tonight to decide who is this season's champion. Now, as it says in the title, this is between corporations, and we will see the corporations here on the bracket that are competing. This is our top eight. So these made it through with 18 games and duked it out to become top eight of 40 different corporations, 500 plus players, and just it's going to be an absolute fight. The main one that is we're going to focus on in the quarterfinals here because it goes quarterfinals, semifinals, finals is Jane Street versus Meta. Jane Street, a previous champion, did come out on top during the regular season. Now, as far as the format for this event, you will see this on screen as we have the games at different points. But so we are all aware ahead of time, they have four players for kind of the main matchup, but there is a board five. This is so that the flow keeps going and tiebreaks are already decided in case those four boards end 2-2. Board five will be the tiebreaker. Black has less time, but draw odds. And so, whatever happens, there will be a victor as soon as the top four games are decided based on that board five. I really love this events. I've been able to do commentary for many of the weeks throughout the season. I've done it for other seasons. While I am a chess player, and obviously when I sit at that board, I'm very in my zone and focused. Any sort of league competition, team competition, corporate competition is to me fantastic because players are actually coming together, which okay, we have communities that come together for chess. We have clubs, which is fantastic, but actually competing. Now, this does add a very difficult element. I had the privilege of playing in a league event before the Pro Chess League many years ago, and you have to take into consideration the team. You have to balance that in the back of your mind, which is not something that I by any means was used to, and I gotta say I did some great things because of it. I did some very silly things because of it. Now, here on the top board, this is Praveen Sanjay versus Jacob Furvine. Sanjay is playing for Meta and Furvine for Jane Street. Now, Furvine, he didn't have the best season this go around. But he is an absolute beast in this format. He was the individual champion a couple of seasons ago with just an absolute monstrous result. I think he only drew one game, and then he won all of the rest against many other title players. So an absolute beast. Excited to see him here, but excited just to see these teams because of the top eight corporations that have qualified, four of them are previous NACCL victors. Jane Street is one of them. Capital One is the defending champion. Google is a multi-season champion, and Susquehanna won the very first season. So, top eight teams, four of them previous champions, one of them a defending champion. I think a lot of fighting chess to be seen. Now, as far as the teams go, they submitted their lineup. They have them in rating order, which can lead to some interesting things. Definitely, some of these players had better seasons, different seasons, but right now, it is ratings that are deciding, so no mixing and matching. This is just straight up your top player goes against the other corporation's top player, and we should be having moves pretty soon here. The players getting set likely after a long work day, which that's the corporate world, right? And let's see here. Let me refresh this game, and we do have liftoff. We're seeing a Sicilian, which very much is a fighting opening, but A6 typically like an O'Kelly variation, but G3, Bishop G2, almost going more King's Indian attack. Now, I don't hate this myself for either side. I've played the Sicilian many times. I love it. It's a very fighting opening, and I think it's absolutely how chess should be played against E4. But I am a sucker for a fianchetto, so admittedly, I've also played just like this as white. I love F4s. I get myself in trouble playing F4 a lot of the time. It's just there's a fine balance in these positions between attacking, getting these pawns rolling, and overextending because black is not left without counterplay themselves, usually in the center. And we see at Vervine statistics on the side, it is showing a very high percentage for black, which is actually quite surprising. And and a lot of openings, I would say like a 35 to 40% for white is pretty normal. So black having such a huge percentage is very unusual here. Now, if it was me, I'd often go for this E5, but experience has taught me that go for E5 and blitz. The time control here is 10 minutes with a 2-second increment. So it's fast, but you can't quite play it as if this is a 3-0 game, 1-0 game. You have to have a little bit more consideration. You're not likely to flag your opponents. I mean, it happens, but that increment will definitely kick in and save them. So Praveen not going for that. He's taking on D5 instead. Decision. I have to say I like, although I'm also liking this knight f6. I was not thinking of knight f6. I was thinking of takes, but with the bishop hanging on g2, of course, that pawn's not going anywhere. Ravine just says, "No, thank you. I'll continue my development." Likely looking to get his king out of the center. Since it's opening up, we definitely don't want our king in the middle of the fight. But Ravine also being conscious of his king, he's not opening up that e file anytime soon. Instead, preferring to take with the knight. I would love to play something like knight e5, but because knight takes e3 ends up hitting the queen on d1, you're not pinning anything. Just to show this real fast, I hit your queen, I hit your bishop. So this would be a fake pin. By all means, a fake pin here. So instead, we see knight e4, putting that knight in the center. Uh, Knights on e4 and like this, often their strength comes down to the squares they're looking to jump into, as well as are they getting kicked. I've gotten myself into trouble with like a very annoying f5, or if I have a black and I put a knight here, getting attacked with f4. But this knight to me seems very solid. I see the evaluation bar giving black a slight edge, but I'm willing to question it. I mean, I can believe it to a point, but I like this. I like the what both players have, knights in the center. How often do you see just a line of pieces like this? Uh, yeah, I don't think this is any game that you can even think about evaluation because to me it feels quite heavily like a 3 result game and both players waiting, buying their chance. Now, Queen C side, a lot of patience. These positions can be very difficult because you typically want to jump, you want to break through, you want to attack, but it's also who's going to swerve first. And if you're not careful, jumping too soon can be a problem. Now, I will say whites, I mean, looking at just bishop d2, rook e1, maybe black's breakthroughs are a little bit more convincing with b4 or c4. I think my struggle and why I'm starting to understand some of the evaluation here a little bit more actually comes down to that side, to the breakthroughs, because the breakthrough I want is white is f5, but playing on that king side, of course, you're always gonna have to take into consideration your own king, the potential openness here once the c5 pawn moves, the bishop jumping in, the queen jumping in. So, a long run, this to me would be the breakthrough I would want as white, And not sure about this. Actually, because of this, as I'm talking about this breakthrough, kind of thinking to myself, well, wouldn't black want to maybe have moved this rook here instead of that rook? I could also see like a bishop h3 coming soon, preparing f5. I actually really, really like that. Some crazy ideas with the knights jumping. Actually, this could be a very, yeah, h6. I mean, this move makes sense to me because some definite concerns about this f7 pawn. Although we have a blue arrow, a 1.4 advantage, but only if 95. Now, 95, this is what is going on. I see some danger here. I see, oh, queen g4 is looking very dangerous if we're threatening knight f6 and bishop takes h6, and everything's coming to life. I was thinking that we wanted to do something with this f pawn by pushing it, but an alternate solution has arrived, um, hitting that key one too many times. With knight e5, instead of raking through, you put this knight on e5 and try to open up your pieces that way. Now the question is, so knight goes to e5, black, can we just ignore it? Probably not. I mean, I imagine this queen is looking to come to g4 or h5 anyways. And I'm looking at this rook on d8 saying I sort of just want it back in that direction, but this is slow. This is not feeling good. This would be a huge, huge win for Meta. Meta, I they have a great team. I definitely consider them the underdogs. I mean, Jane Street, former champion, absolute great team. They finished first after the 6 weeks of games. Now, queen f2, it's given as a miss, but a very reasonable move, opening up 95 without, some of that, calculation, without feeling like you're sacrificing anything because f7 is gonna be hit. So, feeling good here. Also looking at some of the other boards. This is a this is a toss-up. This is an absolute toss-up on the games right now. Uh, it's looking like Meta is favored in 2 of the games right now, and Jane Street is favored in 2 of the games right now, so it's a close race. This I actually think is a great move. Opening up this rook, making sense of what that rook is doing on d8, and it adds a bit of defense, just putting this knight in the way of all those ideas along the F file. He's going back E2. Yeah, I don't like this queen E2. Knight takes E4 now should neutralize a lot of that pressure that white was gonna do because this knight was just an absolute monster. Now, speaking of some of those other games, I think it's time we go check one of them. I'm looking at this one. This is the board 2 of this matchup where Amika has this very dangerous looking queen. Christopher Yang here. I mean, I don't love this. Ben Feingold often says, "Don't play f6, don't play f3." And there's some truth to that. Our F pawns open up these diagonals against our king, whether it's on E8 or G8. Now he's going to plant the bishop on E6. One thing I do have to credit for Christopher here, he has a massive time advantage, 8 minutes to 4. And this plays a huge role. I've seen a lot of mistakes in time pressure, made a lot of time mistakes in time pressure myself. So playing a bit more of the clock, but I have to prefer Mika's position. I would love to just play rook f3. I know this is like the blitz strategy. You bring the rook f3, g3, and you run the h pawn. But what's going to be the issue with that? I mean, it's a blitz strategy, but it works for a reason every now and then. I, maybe the defensive idea has to be queen f8, just going for the oh, oh, he's going even more dangerous than I am. Perfect time to switch to this game. G4, if pawn takes f5 has to be the idea. And actually, incredibly, you have options. Bishop takes looks good. I prefer rook takes. because suddenly this bishop is pinned on e6, so no taking my rook. This is a more effective way to get this rook into the game by far. Very dangerous. Uh, wow. Wow, Mika is playing with fire. He came to win. He wants his team to win this event and is absolutely showing it. Now, okay, that looked terrible. I do not think you can touch this pawn as black. I think we need another option. Maybe now queen f8. I mean, it feels lame. Yeah, I like keeping queens on the board, but not that at the expense of getting checkmated. So queen f8. This also gets out of that pin. So some of that with f5 is starting to fade. And I think you continue the attack. Queen g5, still saying if you take, I play f5 and I'm attacking you. That doesn't look good with this pawn being pinned. And what do you do here is black? Because now if you continue to chase this trade, taking on f5 starts to open up as an option where in the end, I take everything and end up a pawn. Maybe not so simple because of rook e2. Rook e2, rook f2. Okay, not quite. The computer's not 100% convinced by this, but this by all means looks like a pawn up to me for white. Looking good. Maybe you can try and target the c pawn somehow. So g4 has been played, and Christopher, who had built up a fantastic time advantage, is burning a lot of that time. No, he has played queen f8. I expect queen g5. There are some big developments on board one. So I'm expecting some time to be spent here, and I hate moving from this game, but being board one, I think we have to go there back because Praveen has sacrificed a knight and taken on e6. Whoa, wait. Oh, how many pieces is being sacrificed now? He sacrificed one knight, two knights, and has taken on e6, and the computer is agreeing with him. Two knights are off the board now. G takes f6, absolutely on its way. Why can't I just play rook d6? What am I missing? Yeah, this is a very crazy sacrifice because maybe I just have time. I just go queen f5, no king g8. Everything, yeah, everything's being hated. Everything's being hated. Bishop f4 could be an issue. Yeah, bishop. Okay, black needs to respect this bishop f4. Rook d6 feels, I mean, you could also think about queen d6, feels like one of the more natural moves to me. I don't think there's anything crazy with sacrificing. We're down too much material to go bishop f4 here, but maybe even just a simple queen e2 is the better way. Yeah, okay. We see queen e2 keeping this pressure, looking for bishop f4. And this bishop f4, I'm starting to realize is one of the big annoyances. G6 also lingering, which is just crazy in theory that white can be down two pieces. Okay, he has a few pawns. He's taken three pawns, but be down a few pieces and looking to just take it. Oh, and we do have some developments. Queen d6 was played, and G takes f6. So taking one of those pieces back. And you cannot play bishop takes f6. This leads to checkmate in two moves, little crisscross applesauce. Move on to the next game. You can't take there. How is this not just completely losing? I don't know. I think Praveen is getting it done in this game. Absolutely. Ignore this miss. The computer is going to eat these positions alive, find these improvements. Uh, There's no doubt in my mind that Praveen is on his way to win and absolutely fantastic. These knight sacrifices, opening these two rooks that were positioned on the ENF file, these bishops too, like every piece is opened up and the king in danger. Uh, Incredible. So I'm going to glance at the other boards really quickly. I think looking at some of this, we actually should jump to board 4 before probably going back to board 2. Now this one This game doesn't have the same fireworks, as the other 2 in the match that we've looked at so far, but I do think is a great example of just a very good positional advantage, and at this point, a well-needed game for Jane Street. Matthias, for Jane Street has a very good advantage, and it looks actually kinda similar. I mean, not as chaotic, but to what we were seeing from board 1 is where one side just has some good open files, bishop's looking very good, and because of it has the advantage. Now, specifically, what is going on here? Some hesitation on the recapturing e5. Safe to assume, yes, that was a knight on e5 that was captured. Uh, I was gonna say knight takes was the first one I was gonna look at, but bishop takes has been played, and we once again have that blue arrow pointing towards this b4 move. That's a very tough move to find. I would be thinking a lot more about knight d5s and taking rook e1s, b4, queen takes b4, then you take okay, queen cannot take because the rook is hanging, and f6. You have to be a little bit careful of these 2 pieces. Oh, queen d4, tactics. I was thinking black had rook c8, but hello, bishop f7. And that queen on b4 is, in a very tough spot. So b4, queen can't take, so you have to drop back queen c7. Yeah, he didn't find it, which is fair, honestly. I think b4 is just it's so out of your purview, with the contention in the center here. It's one of those that you have to find because you're thinking about the forcing moves and kinda clue in to those kinda crazy forcing moves and just how they play out in the position. Now this has completely flipped this game, which is bad news for Jane Street because meta's looking good on board 1, although board 2 is shifting. So we might have to go back to this. Let's look at this knight d4 move a little bit, and then we'll go back to board 2 as the evaluation seems to be shifting there. Knight d4 could be just a very easy, like, bring the knight to f5 and go after this bishop. The queen is a bit awkward now because queen e3 runs into exactly that, this knight f5, and queen e4 is running into some sort of bishop, probably bishop c6. But like, b7 is hanging. So maybe bishop c6 here, some threats. This is still a battle. Oh, and a result has dropped while I'm looking at board 1, 2, and 4. The first game to finish of this match, of course, is board 3. So put a hold on board 2 for a second. What happened here? I saw that things were looking good for David Ping, but this was a flip and very good for Jane Street. The first result goes to them. So this is about what I was seeing, and it looks like it really was just a sudden shift here. David Peng was pushing against Warren, but this queen e3, just a simple blunder, unfortunately, knight g5. We think about forks and these types of threats when it comes to pieces, but sometimes we forget about pawns. And since the queens came off the board, that made pawns even more valuable. And yeah, h6, knight takes f7 happens. Another fork, another hanging pawn, and Warren decided to call it. So Jane Street gets the first win. For the record, on board 5, we're not going to go to the game, but Meta did win. So Meta has draw odds. So it's a balance now, but let's go check in on board 2 because a lot seems to be happening here. I was 100% taking Mika. I loved what he was doing with G4 and breaking through in this position. But what? Let's go back a little bit. Oh, Mika, yeah, probably that queen G5 and just going for that pawn up endgame may have been a little bit better, but still it's still okay up to this point. But just in the right moment, Christopher says, "Okay, I can take that pawn on G4. I can take that pawn on H5." And his king's kind of holding on with this pawn. Queen goes back, and liking what he's doing, but at the same time, this is far from clear. He's managed to build a bit of a wall, keep his king somewhat safe, but somewhat safe is as best as I'll give it for now, because with the dark square bishop that black does not have, and the king being on dark squares, all these dark squares being open, you can imagine a situation where, for example, even if this pawn pushes, bishop starts getting into c3, and there's a lot of danger. So that lingers, and we could even see it here. Maybe pawn takes and bishop trying to sneak into f6. I will say this is one of the interesting things about a lot of these games. When your opponent's attacking you, there are these pawn captures that it just feels like your opponent can't play, and then all of a sudden they do. So it's important to keep those in mind, even if at the time it feels very dangerous to take. Here, g3 only move. No, so now it's equal, headed towards. Oh, danger, danger. I don't know who to take here. As black, you're happy that you have the material, but as white, I'm happy I have all these dark squares. I really like rook f1. Yes, rook f1 first, and then bishop g5, bishop f6. Computer doesn't. We're in agreement. Me and Mika are in agreement about this rook f1 move. The computer is not. But that bishop g5, I'm not worried about you taking because bishop f6 would be a fork once that lands. I'm glancing at the top board, not gonna switch there, but Praveen is looking good, so potentially meta equalizing it. He kept his advantage and is still pushing. Queen takes c4. This move makes me very scared. Yeah, queen f6, bishop h6. What, you're saying you defend through queen f7? Hold on, let me take a look at this. I don't wanna make too many moves because this is a very fast-paced game, but I have to see this. I can visualize it, but I have to see it. Somehow this is not winning for whites. This looks so scary, and it's being played. Queen f6 on the board, bishop h6, queen f7, and the time is starting to tick. Big mistakes, it can absolutely happen, even though there is a 2-second increment. It is difficult to play bullet. It is difficult to make that shift of a time, situation from having time, being able to breathe, to very, very fast-paced chess. It makes even the best of us look a bit silly. Yeah, can you get away with queen? Now there's a little bit of counterattack possible. This feels, oh man, every king is hanging in this position. Ravine did end up winning, so the match thus far is slight edge to meta because the board 4 results, it is 1-1, but they have tiebreak odds. And Matthias on board 4 has won it. So it all comes down to this. If Mika manages to win this game, then Meta will take the win. But if Christopher holds, and all he needs is a draw now, which is fantastic for him. It is opposite colored bishops. Notorious. It is notorious for being drawish. But here with the extra pawns, if anyone is playing for a win as these pawns run down the board, is Christopher. Jane Street has to be feeling good. I love this, putting it on the dark square, trying to not let that bishop just blockade it. And there it is. Rookie one, checkmate. Jane Street moves through. I mean, it's convincing now. They win 3-1. I was not so convinced that that was going to be the case. Yeah, we see on the cameras there, if we can get that view, Mika, unfortunately, you can see looking looking pretty distraught. He knew he had him on the edge. That is a relatable feeling. I don't wanna throw a little salt on the wound, but I also think it is one of the things that brings us together in chess that we all have these bad moments. I mean, fantastic game from him still, even though it slipped away. That is the nature of this event. 10 minutes, 10 minutes is one of the hardest time controls to me. Now, I'm glancing through the other matches. It looks like Capital One has advanced, which is incredible. They have beat Databricks JP Morgan actually swept Google, which is a fantastic performance from them. And PwC, we have one more game going on, which actually does. Let me take a look. Who won the tie breaks? So this is it's a bad situation. I was gonna say, wait, no, actually, I'm wrong. So Alex Bone, who is on Price Waterhouse Coopers here with the black pieces, if he wins, they advance. They have won the tiebreak game. So even though they are down 2-1, if they win it, it will tie it up, and the tiebreak goes to them. Don't accidentally repeat. Don't accidentally repeat. The technique here is you cut the king off. If possible, you cut the king off enough. Here, rook g2, and then you try to sack at the right time. You could try to force the king this way. It's a little bit tricky, though, because with the low time, you get really nervous about when you're going to sacrifice your rook on g5, and the bishop can just stay there. He's throwing some checkmate threats. I'm going to try and look at the moves here. The last pawn move was move 75. So he still has about 25 moves to play. But at some point, you could easily confuse yourself and get into threefold. I've done that many times where I just lose count of different positions. I feel like it's a very unique position, but no. So far, struggling. I think he needs to do more to push this king out. Oh, he played king g1. King g1 was a slip. As I say it, yes, white is able to take opposition, but since there is a pawn move, black gets to take it back. And this, I'm gonna check again. This is crazy. It's coming down to the tiebreak board again. Price Waterhouse Coopers, Alex with the black pieces. His team has tiebreaks. So if he wins this, which he does, he gets the win. And PwC advances, knocks out Susquehanna because they're board 5-1. Now, a lot of the other matches, I wouldn't say were clean, but they definitely weren't down to the wire like this one. Fantastic results, and I mean, as we know, very, very smooth. Now, as we gear up for the next round, yeah, we're gonna gear up for our break. We're gonna have a short break as the teams get settled and we prepare. But before we do, as a reminder, being the final day, this is your last chance to level up your chess for half the price. The Chess.com spring sale ends on May 29th, tomorrow, meaning the final countdown is on to score 50% off a premium membership. Don't let the clock run out on you. Head over to go.chess.com/spring sale 2026 or simply hit !spring sale in the chat to claim your half price upgrade before it's gone. Everyone, we will be back shortly with more action in the semifinals of the knockout of season 13 of the NACCL. See you soon.
If I make this in one go, we're going to launch a no ads plan. Does an own goal count? Hey guys, new plan. If I make this shot, we're going to launch a no ads plan. Hey guys, last try. If I make this bullseye, we're launching the no ads plan. No more questions. I did it! I made the bullseye! Do it! Launch the no ads plan!
Love chess but don't like ads? Sign up for Chess.com's no ads plan and play chess ad-free.
Hello guys, I'm playing here against my chessbot and here is my secret weapon. Or still I can play even bishop b3 with the idea to jump on e5 and to jump on
Yeah.
What do you think?
I would never in a million years play bishop b3, but I still think I think you have a lot of good moves probably. Trust your
instinct.
Yeah. Okay, this move must be bad.
Yes.
This must be a bad move.
We are dumping, right?
Yeah. Why would your bot play h6, man? Even like rook g1, knight g6 is probably strong, just to get the two bishops.
I like that. I like that idea. This is master idea.
Yeah, we're
We
good here. Wow. What?
take and rook g8 at the end.
Yeah, it has to. Yeah, this has to be good for you, for human you. Ooh.
What do you think? If he takes here, I just go here.
And then you just win.
Probably that's
Yeah. What?
This has to be the move, right?
Yeah, it must be. 97? Oh, come on, but like... Oh, you can't play with your bishop.
He gives me check, I move.
And then
It's winning there,
it
right?
must be winning, right? The rook. Now, where are you with the king? That's the question.
There is no checks, right?
Yeah, probably there, yeah. I guess he can check you with the rook.
Okay, now we need to see.
Oh, this move I did not see.
Me neither.
Okay, this is the Grandmaster A to Z Challenge. There are more than 2,100 Grandmasters who have ever lived. Your job is to name one for each letter of the alphabet A through Z. You can do first or last name. We're going to give you 3 minutes. Get set, go.
Aronian,
Abdusattarov,
Arjun,
Alexander Grishuk,
okay, Vishwanath Anand, Botvinnik,
Baburin,
Bachman, like, I don't know, I cannot remember some strong chess player.
Brown,
B. Boris Gelfand,
Boris Gelfand, B, Carlson,
C. Kurt Hansen,
It's actually very hard, you know, I was thinking to be very easy.
Best player of all time.
Carlson, yeah, it's crazy now, I mean, I'm very bad in this game.
Kalfin,
Carlson?
Caruana, C,
D, I'll say David Bronstein.
D. Donchenko,
D. Sometimes you are forgot every name when you are playing some games. D. Yeah, just skip, yeah.
Ding,
Okay.
D. Dubov,
Demchenko, D,
Elis Kassis,
E. Einhorn,
E. Erigaisi,
Okay, A I would go Aronian and E Irrigation.
Okay, that's fine.
E. Erigaisi,
Sotowski, Emil, it's E.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Grandmaster Caden Trofe, and once again, excited to be here. We are going to be going with the semifinals here with the North American Corporate Chess League Season 13 Knockout, or NACCL. The first round, to me, absolutely delivered some crazy results, and while I was focused on Meta and Jane Street, we had some great results in the other matches. The most notable to me, just off of tie breaks, was PricewaterhouseCoopers getting the win against Susquehanna, which is, it's always fantastic. And, a nice destruction feels good, but I think that last minute save it brings a lot of excitement to winning a match. We also see Capital One, the defending champion, has made it through against Databricks, which Databricks, very tough opponent. Of the two GMs here in the knockouts, Databricks was sporting one of them And so taking them down, absolutely fantastic results as well. And then JP Morgan, I mean, should not be overlooked. Google definitely no slouch of a team, but JP Morgan able to sweep them. So from all this, I mean, some up and down results, but I think they have to be the one that we are watching out for in in this event. I mean, just being able to uh, take it. Now I'm looking here. I'm not quite seeing the gonna make some adjustments to find round two. For this round two, the focus is going to be on the. Okay, wait. Um, so something's happening here. This is Capital One versus JP Morgan. This will be the matchup that we focus on. This is not the one that I expect to see. Just to recap what's happened in this game between Craig Hilby and Edward Song. Uh, you might think that the pieces on the starting position was move one, but in fact we're already on move 10 as they get into this game. I did see this happen during the regular season, and now they just play a regular game. I don't I don't know why, but I guess they're having fun with it, which is great. I think this is the big part of this event. These players they got into corporate jobs. I mean, big chess players still playing events, but busy. I mean, work life catches up to you, and so the fact that they're playing in this league, that they're having fun in their chess, I think is a fantastic thing to see and to witness. Now, here, Craig, not quite going for mainline with D4. This was something that I noticed him doing quite a bit. And also, shout out to Craig. He was the individual winner throughout the season. He had a scary last week, but was able to still clutch it up at the very end there. So a monster in this event. But he plays a lot of these like solid sidelines, gets a little bit of advantage. And then even though it feels like it's just gonna be this slow grind, he often is making these positions very exciting. He's really going after his opponent, he's challenging them, and Rookie 1 already might be in that direction of challenging. Normally, I would expect to see this bishop find its way to B3 or A2 after some sort of B5, but with the rook on E1, potentially we're gonna see this bishop drop back to F1. Now there's an alternate point to rook E1 where or actually a couple. So sometimes you can see E5 get played, now supported by the rook. Sometimes you can see like a knight D5. Okay, E5 is what he is favoring. And this knight has to decide. Nope, the knight is absolutely going to stay there, going D5. This is always a move that you have to watch out for. Why I can't say I was fully expecting it, but it does seem reasonable. Now, if the pawn takes here, it's just gonna be a capture, and basically, Edward would claim that the bishop and how open it is worth this sort of funky structure, which I think funky is I mean, it has to be the word we use to describe it. Craig spending some time here. He could also take en passant, which is probably just the most solid approach. He could drop this bishop back to F1, but mm, maybe maybe there's some concern about this pawn in the long run. We see this in a lot of structures where the E5 pawn it feels good, it's taking squares, but then black's pieces start to come out and attack and it's a little annoying to defend from time to time, but he's gonna stand by it. He's going to play bishop F1. This knight I expect to drop back. I don't love it dropping back there, just blocking the bishop. I mean, this bishop does have another home on B7, but I mean, does this knight really look at this, does it really feel that amazing on D7? I'm not 100% convinced. Now, knight E4 would be an absolute disaster as this knight has nowhere to go after D3. So something that aggressive, I don't think is a possibility. Spending some time. Another option could be dropping this knight back to G8 and really taking a long time to reposition it. But I'm surprised Edward Song is spending a lot of time. No, he does go for this. He does go for this knight G8. As much as I wasn't convinced on knight D7, this is a huge time commitment to bring this knight around. Now, I think the opening's gonna be a little bit slow here in this game, so I do actually wanna go to board 4 here, between Abhishek and Asuka Nakamura. If you recognize the last name, is for good reason. And yes, this is the brother of the one and only Hikaru Nakamura. Asuka has been fantastic to watch throughout this event. He always has some very exciting games, and this doesn't seem to be an exception. Although he may be on the less exciting side. Although I don't, I don't get what's so good about taking. I assume with Queen C2, his plan is to play Queen takes. Oh, Knight D5. Obviously, Knight D5 is going to be a problem. So no taking there with the Queen because Knight D5 just starts to create all sorts of issues. So the simple capture actually a bit annoying. What if we go Rook D1, still just Knight D5, and all this is for nothing? That almost makes me think after taking that you have to accept fate a little bit. You play knight takes, this pawn is hanging, but you're gonna focus in on the center just to create some chances. Okay, don't blunder queen d4. Queen d4 forks everything. Okay, one thing for sure to watch out for, besides being down the pawn. Oh man, it's crazy how annoying that simple capture is turning out to be. He does play queen takes. Apparently, knight d5 actually was not the best. He takes in between, hitting the queen, and is gonna try and sneak queen takes c6. I'm not so convinced though. I did like this knight d5 myself, and queen takes c6. It feels like queen takes or knight takes is an option. Just trying to take this bishop. And yeah, I mean, the eval bar is screaming some major issues here. So I was thinking that this pawn would need to be sacrificed. This was not the way I was expecting it to be sacrificed, but possibly you need to play it a little bit safe. Not what you want as white, and not what you want with black either. Honestly, you're going to be down a pawn very likely. But you try and post up, you blockade, you keep that extra pawn in check, and then you pressure it. You put a rook on the c file, you put the bishop on e4, and you make the best of it. Now, looking at the other games, I think the other one to go to while Asuka is thinking about now, I don't think this should be our main focus. I think we go to board 2. This one feels like it's on the brink of exploding. I I mean, all this tension, these knights ready to jump in there. Black, I mean, is F5 a consideration as well? I think the biggest thing I would be thinking about is the right time to take. But this just feels like it's time. It's time for something to happen. Now you can also take it positionally. This would not be my favorite move, but you can play d4. And yeah, the computer, I mean, you see the eval bar. Computers love just taking space, really holding everything. And normally I wouldn't be a big fan of this. I want the fireworks. I want a 5. Like I want something big to happen. But here, if you try to lock it up as white, this B4 square for the long time feels like it's going to be annoying. F5 still exists. Don't know about going F5 here. I'm very skeptical because of this pawn and some G5 ideas, just blocking your own pieces with F5. Uh, it's not so clear going for this, but I do think in the long run, this D4, C4, you could work towards like a B5. So like you keep an eye on F5, you keep an eye on h5 even. Not my favorite break, but it exists. And then you also look for b5. And white structure is a little bit weird. Putting all these pawns on light squares, it feels like you have a bind. But the downside to this is it leaves all the breakthroughs on dark squares, which you now can't break with because you have no support from your other pawns. They're all on light squares. Where are the dark squared pawns? They're struggling. And you compare that to black, who has a good mix. You have these dark squared pawns that hold the space, that control the center of the board, but light square pawns that are going to assist in the breakthrough. So this is an option. It's not. I love openness. I love the flexibility. And yeah, I had to spend many hours working on, when I was trying to work on becoming a GM, I had to work many hours with my coach on these locked up pawn structures because I was not the best at them. They're just not my favorite. But it does look quite good. If there was ever a time that you take the space and you lock it, I really think that this is the case here. Now, one of the other pieces that I'm eyeing, I'm thinking about in this position is probably this knight on e7. I mean, it's adding its support to f5, but would love to see this knight engaged a little bit more just overall. Like, I'd love to see it on an f4 square, but that feels very difficult. Like, you never want to play g5 here because you also give a square for white's knight. So this is just, it's on the back of my mind. It's not a terrible piece, but I do want to see this more active. Now a lot of time being spent here, which I think is tough. Okay, some developments, a6 has been played, potentially looking for b5. Bishop e3 was played, which could mean that it's time for d4. Yeah, and d4 has been played. I don't know about putting the bishop on e3. I think you get everything you want as black now. Like, you get the central control. He's taking on d4. I guess there was some concerns about taking on c3 and taking d3, but I mean, yeah, you take either way. Slight preference here just to open up the c file. I feel like he could have taken really good advantage of that with the pawn not here. But this also feels quite good. Still some potential of b5, some potential of c4. Alex Bien, I mean, so far I feel like is really having a good hold on this position and doing quite well. Now, I think it's time to go back to board one. It feels like that's also starting to heat up. Lots of developments they got looking at the other games quite a bit. And the eval bar is saying that Hilby is worse, but I don't think it's so simple with knight f6 lingering, bishop g5s. There's some danger. Now, the saving grace for Edward, I think, has to be this knight on f5. I, I'm curious. I'm just looking through the notation a little bit. If this is the very same knight when we last saw this position that dropped back, and it is this knight that dropped back to g8, went to e7 to f5 to d4, back to f5. So this knight has had quite a journey. Also, considering the fact that this game started with that knight dance, I think this knight has moved and really earned its keep this game. And yeah, just it's sitting there guarding the dark squares. Very, very useful. He'll be starting to prepare with h4. You could see like an h5, h6, but I think it's going to be very difficult to break through unless this knight gets kicked at some point. Now, his long-term plan as these pawns start rolling could be probably two things. At some point, trying to bring the bishop to h3 or e4, go after the knight that way, uh, or to play g4 would be the two ways, move the queen and then go for g4 there. But maybe you have a third idea, which is just attacking on the light squares somewhere, playing knight g5. I mean, this is very, very in Craig's style, like a very patient, just keeping some pressure, some attack. And I think he's also conscious of the time, the fact that he's been playing these last few moves pretty quickly. he's definitely had his moments where he's both benefited from having more time and felt the negative effects of being down a lot of time. So it's got to be in his mind, thinking about it, looking, and he's definitely trying to pick up the pace. Now, bishop g5, yeah, we could see him really focusing on the light squares. He could, no capture on g5, just h6. I mean, it's a little uncomfortable. I think positionally in the long run, this D3 pawn is definitely the reason that Edward would be better here, because if Craig can't get an attack, it doesn't really his active pieces don't make it too much sense. And then there's just this big semi-open file where he's able to target this. Now the computer says, hello, knight d6, knight d6. Wait a second, knight d6, take bishop takes d5. And you're starting to open the position as well as block that d file and that weak pawn on d3. And this all works out. Oh, you can't take queen takes d6. Oh, that's right. I've done my chess.com tactics. This one almost slipped by me, but you throw in rook e8. The rook can't take because the queen hangs, and king h7. Queen takes d6. Big opportunity, but Craig and his attempt to play quickly lets this moment slide by. It's still there. It's still lingering. He might have a second chance at it here with knight d6. Yes, we see the arrow. Knight d6, and man, there's definitely some developments in the other game, but other games. I don't want to leave this. Now, I do want to point out Capital One did win the tiebreak game. So now, if they finish 2 out of 2 in the top 4 boards, Capital One will be the team taking it. Alex Bien really pushing on board 2. Board 3 for JP Morgan as well. Maggie Fang really pushing there. The only board that Capital One is really shining is on that board 4 that we saw earlier. But Hilby does find knight d6 now. So, I mean, he has been Capital One's champion last season. I assume this season he was the captain. He was interviewed after they won last season. Maybe not the captain, but he was interviewed. That I do remember. And he's showing his strength once again. He's showing why he was the individual champion. This opens it up because while he still has a weak pawn on d3, Black now has a weak pawn on f5. d4 has also opened up as a breakthrough, potentially dealing with that pawn. But he does have to deal with this first, maybe just a simple take. I think just taking on a4. Oh no, rook d4. Rook d4. Hold on, that's not so easy. I would love to just take this, but rook d4 is probably what Edward wants to play next. So maybe we just have to give that pawn and play d4. That rook d4 would be such a painful move. That rook would be supported by the pawn. I think you have to deal with it by playing this now. And it is on the board. A takes b3, a takes b3. Shouldn't be a sacrifice because f5 is hanging. This is a 3-result game. I think this is gonna mellow a little bit. I don't know. Queen's still on the board. Yeah, some trades happening. I do expect this to mellow out a little bit. So I do want to go back to board 2. In the meantime, just check that and see what is going on. Is this okay? No, I was gonna say this position looks fantastic for Black. What's the evaluation bar saying? It's catching up. Wait, Alex Bien is up a piece. The piece was just sacrificed. Knight takes h5. What is happening here? If it was me in the sacrifice state of mind, I would be thinking strongly about taking here on e5 and going f4, but this is very reckless, and I don't know if I believe in it myself, but sometimes you can get pawns running and it comes along. This is really painful. This knight on b4 is threatening to fork a1 and e1. It's threatening to take d3. I love myself a good sacrifice. I want to take white. I want to like the position, but I think I have to take. Wait, is this a second piece? How dangerous is knight f I'm looking for the checkmate idea, but this is sneakier. This is sneakier. Okay, some credit. Knight f5, the idea would just be repetition. So we imagine we fall asleep at the wheel, we play knight e5. I'm just gonna check you forever and get the draw. Uh, so after takes knight f5, what's the way of defending? This isn't so simple because bishop e5 also runs into it. There's some no queen e6 still. If you give your king space, I'm a little bit scared that yeah, the evaluation bar is starting to creep up. You might even start getting not through queen h6. Okay, bishop e5 now would save it. But rook e8 is absolutely okay. No, the eval bar is just messing with me. Still saying equal. So this actually a great idea. I see that the computer doesn't like it. It's giving it the -4, but I don't think it's that simple to defend against this repetition idea. And at least at a glance, I can't quite see it. I mean, maybe you bring the knight to e7, but it just feels like you're leaving your king. Queen e6. Queen e6 does not do it. Alex BN may have missed bishop takes e5 in between. I think his idea is to play knight f5 and then queen g6. But if I play bishop takes e5 first, say you play knight takes, knight f5, you can no longer play queen g6 because of knight e7 and some issues there. Now he could still be looking to go for some sort of rook e8 and slide the queen, but things are getting messy. Knight f5. He didn't take on e5 though. He didn't take bishop could slide back to g7 to defend. Now, the positive side about this, if bishop does go back to g7, it wasn't a double piece sacrifice, just a single piece sacrifice. Now, I want to stay with this game, but I'm seeing a result on the horizon. I think we go to board 3. Matty Fang for JP Morgan against Jordan here on board 3. Looks like a checkmate is soon to be delivered, or the queen is going to fall. Something has got to give. We did not go to this game very much, but Maggie, huge credit with a possible win here. That would put JP Morgan, who overall is looking quite good, into the driver's seat for this match. And since Capital One won the tiebreaker game, they definitely need it. Craig Hilby and Edward Song on board. One potentially looking to equalize. Yes, and they drew. So this game becomes very important. First result, King E7. How is it over though? I'm thinking Queen H7. Oh, and it's just gonna be a time. Maggie doesn't even get to deliver the final blow. Likely with this Queen H7 was going for some King E8, Queen takes E5, or Queen takes H5 check, just taking more material. But a big first win. Let's go back to board 2 because things did happen after missing Bishop takes E5. Things are falling apart for Mari here. And JP Morgan, if they win this, that's it. They knock out the defending champion Capital One. They have 2.5 out of the 4 boards, and with those knights just sitting there, I mean, this is over. This is done. There's not even a dream. Sometimes you dream about stalemate. I've played enough bullet games to do it, but I don't think there's too many pawn moves. That's just rude. Knight g6, just rubbing it in a little bit, bringing this knight back around. JP Morgan is looking to knock out the defending champion. Uh, things are looking good for Capital One on board 4, but if this is a loss for them, it does not matter. So the the only hope is stalemate. I would say this isn't a game we need to stay with because the result looks inevitable, but since this decides the match, We got to stay here. And there it is. JP Morgan guaranteed whatever happens on board 4 to move through with that win. Now, an update on the other semifinals match. Jane Street swept PwC. Fervine lost that first round. I mean, incredible game against Praveen Sanjay, but was able to bounce back with the win over Grandmaster Barish Bullets. So we have our finals set up. It will be JP Morgan versus Jane Street. Jane Street won this a few seasons ago, and JP Morgan looking for their first ever title. We still have a game going on, so I'm gonna stay with this. This does not matter for the overall results, but I do want to see Capital One if they can end on a high note. Um, you always take those wins. I think that's one of the great things about chess players is the fight that they often have left. This is actually a really weird one because with a piece for the pawn, of course, black, you feel like you're winning, but breaking through is not so easy. Thankfully, the bishop is the right color, so this H pawn, there's hope. There's that end game trick that if this was a dark squared bishop and an H pawn, then that's not enough to win if everything else got traded. But being a light squared bishop, that's not a worry. But these checks are really annoying. A queen is fantastic at giving checks. And yeah, queen g3, how do you break through? The king is running. I don't know about this strategy, but threatening queen e5, and that's really annoying to actually get away from. Queen a1, wow, the king on e6 actually ends up being perfectly safe and helps deliver the square for trading. Okay, not rushing to trade, wanting to trade on his terms. Back and forth. The queens just staring each other down. Now, the fact that this is a light squared bishop actually does help. If this was a dark squared bishop again, then all white would need to do is get this G pawn and just hide in the corner. One of those crazy endgame chess things that I hate because I've fallen for it more than I've gotten it. But yeah, the bishop is just too strong now. It's going to be a bit of a consolation when Capital One. This means they will finish with 1.5, which feels good, and they won the tiebreaker game. So I mean, overall, still a fantastic result for them. But it is JP Morgan moving through. Yeah, the big problem with the piece is not always the fact that the piece is doing all the damage, but in these end games, tempo is so important, and the fact that a bishop can move a million times, and just always force the king move. This is a little scary. Hold on. A little scary. If all the pawns get traded, it's a draw. G4. King G5. And you post the bishop on E8. This has to be the most nerve-wracking way to win this game. Taking a look at the players, not sure if they know that the match is over yet, which could be a very. Oh, he got out tempoed. He needed to go King E3 instead. The pawns get traded. Oh, just to throw some salt in the wounds. They don't quite get this. Just to show this last idea, he needed to wait. Maybe I'm not even. This is actually a really tricky. I was thinking he needed like a King E3. Yeah, I think no, King E3 doesn't even do it. I'm not going to analyze it too much, but this can be all of your homework to how exactly does Black draw this game. We have all the results are in, and we do see it there. JP Morgan moving forward. Jane Street with a clean sweep, showing that they might be the favorite. I mean, they finished in first after the regular season, so now they might still be putting their mark on the match overall. With that, though, we were We are headed to a break. And before we go, if you need to upgrade your own long chess sessions, check out the Essentials collection at the Chess.com store. We're talking high quality tees, ultra comfortable hoodies, which I'm a huge fan of myself. I definitely enjoy playing chess in a hoodie, and clean hats, which you don't see it now. I'm always wearing a hat too. So if you want to be like a grandmaster, go to the store, get your tees, get your hoodies, get your ultra comfort, give your wardrobe a tactical upgrade at go.chess.com/shop merch, or just hit !merch in chat to learn more. And we will be right back with the final match, the decider. Hope to see you there.
Okay, I can. There is a lot of traps I learned, but in the board, I think the first one which I used and won. I think this is okay. It's from Italian game. It's a 6 and bishop. I was playing with black, and I think I was like only 5 years old, and my teacher was like showing me this 94 move. Yeah, yeah, it was like bad move. I think if you take castle, it's already plus like 0.50 minimum, and. But okay, I'm playing a like 6 years old tournament, so everyone want to take this like 3 pound, yeah, and after takes 95, queen g5, and of course then they want to take an f7 pawn also, and I take g2. Okay, it's already lose for white, and of course traps ends here like bishop b2, knight f3 mate. This one the first trap which I really used in a board against someone. I mean, maybe there is also some traps which I used, but I cannot remember. So, but this one I for sure remember because I played in some national championship.
Magnus, we're gonna have you do a little guess the accuracy. We've selected 2 random games from Chess.com. Jeremiah 95 with the white pieces playing Iyun 0813. So Jeremiah from Guatemala and Iyun 18 from South Korea. White starts off with d4, d5, e3, c5, knight c3,
Oh boy.
knight c6, d takes c5, d4.
Yeah, this is not a good game. These games are not. So now, like, once you say knight as well, that's also like bad. You kind of can go knight b5, but ed4 is like completely winning for white already. So
yeah, knight f3.
Oh boy.
D takes c3. B takes c3. Bishop g4. Knight g5.
Yeah, that's pretty egregious to do in a blitz game.
f6.
No.
Knight e6.
Oh boy.
And then we have the
Queen takes d1.
Queen takes d1 move. Yep.
Yeah, this is. I have no idea. I think this is very, very, very low rated players because such basic things are being missed, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of thinking ahead for any of the players. I felt that some of the moves were at least somewhat decent, so one move is not connected with the next at all. And it seems to me here there were at least some decent moves. 5.
25.6. And black?
I don't know. There were some I mean, d4 was horrible. f6 was horrible. The rest of the moves were okay, so maybe 40%.
Actually 55.5.
Yeah, that's so generous. You can't have that after missing mate in 1.
Okay, great.
Your game is evolving, now your style should too. Welcome to the Chess.com merch store, your home for everything off the board. We've studied the theory of comfort so you don't have to. The Essentials collection is the ultimate low-profile kit. Premium tees, hoodies, and hats with zero distractions. It's the baseline for your wardrobe that lets your moves do the talking. From the classic rook to the legendary mittens, our plushies now come in every color to match your setup, mostly because they'll never judge your accuracy. And for those who still love the tactile feel of a win, explore our official chess sets. Durable, tournament ready, and designed to handle every celebratory slam or graceful resignation. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned pro, we've got the perfect setup for you. So head over to chesscom.shop to explore these and many more. Grab your favorites before they're gone.
Welcome back, everyone, to the final match of the Corporate Chess League. It has been a wild ride, but at the end of the day, there are just two corporations left. Jane Street and JP Morgan have found their way after 7 weeks. 7 weeks to be here, and there we see the bracket. I mean, both of these teams monstrous. JP Morgan started off with a clean sweep. Jane Street got it in the second round. So, I mean, I think it's very poetic that they're going to be going toe-to-toe. Now, as far as who's the favorite, I don't know. I mean, I became a fan of Jane Street because the first season that I was doing commentary, they were there. They were beastly, and they just really put their stamp on that season to take it. But JP Morgan has definitely stood out this season, just week after week, putting up some good results. It was fun throughout these 6 weeks on all these games that it was trading who was going to be, or who was the team standings, who was at the top. And even though Jane Street came out on top at the end, it definitely doesn't show. So we should have games pretty soon here, and I mean, I'm ready. I'm excited for it. The lift off here, and I'm seeing it. I'm starting to see a glimpse, and we do have it. It has begun. Final match. 7 weeks, all for it to come down to right here, right now. Edward Song versus Jacob Furvine on board one. Now, here we have another Sicilian. We're seeing this e6. Jacob did play a6 earlier, but that was against knight c3, so a little bit of adjustment. And c3 going for an Alpin type setup. No, more of a closed Sicilian with this bishop d3. We're not getting any sort of e5s, d4s. I think this has been for a lot of people. I was talking about Craig Hilby, who won the individual season, but I think this has been a lot of players had a methodology in this. When you're playing so many games, because it was 18 games during the regular season, 3 more games tonight, play a bit more solidly to try and take their opponents out of prep and get a nice playable game. Now with the c3 d4, this is a structure. I mean, if we see d5, I've seen this a lot in some exchange variations. I think of like the Aerocon exchange. You could also see this in like a London system. Dare I say it? A London system type setup. Will bishop f4 happen? Hold on. Pause. Hold your breath. It's actually really weird that this could very much transpose. I could have sworn we started with e4. Why is that even a possibility? The London shows up everywhere. It will haunt you. But not quite. I mean, bishop d3. This is targeting the king side. I don't think this is one of those positions that you can go for an all-out attack, although I am glancing like a rook e1 and, could we see a rook lift? Could we see a knight g5? There's definitely a possibility. Actually, I hate to say it, but I don't hate bishop f4 here. It's makes a lot of sense. Okay, it goes bishop g5. We get a little reprieve from that possible setup and structure. Bishop g5, b6. We could see b6, bishop b7, knight d7. This is a very common type setup, very solid in these structures. Now, it's almost annoyingly solid for black. I've played very similar as whites. Um, yes, don't hate me. I do play the London from time to time at a decent amount in Blitz and Bullet because it's very solid. But uh, I always feel like I should be checkmating my opponents here when they have just this knight here and the bishop here. It just doesn't feel that convincing of a defense. But somewhere the rook slides over to e8 and the knight goes on f8 and it's just a very, very solid structure where then black looks to kind of break with b5, b4, and white, of course, is looking to checkmate. At least when I play whites, I'm always looking to checkmate. So I don't know. Like it feels very aggressive for white, but I think this is just a game. I think both players are going to get in the action. Although this is a bit of a shift. C4 here I think is actually a great decision, potentially jumping this knight into c3, where d5 or knight e4 become a bit more serious. Yeah, this changes things a bit. Restricting black's play. Well, maybe restricting black's play. I mean, the c4, while it feels good and it feels like it controls the squares, can also be a little bit more of a target since it's not supported by b2. And b3 is not quite the same all the time because you play rook c8 and then you get a6 and b5 in. It's a little easier to get the pawns, your pawns as black, to attack when the pawn's on c4 or d5, for example. Now we are seeing rook e8. This move again. I think a lot of black's position can look a bit funny, just how solid it is, and uh, yeah, like the pieces don't feel very active, but they lurk. They sit there ready to attack for when white breaks through. And we're going for this b4. I'm not I'm not fully convinced. I've had a lot of issues in different structures, particularly in Queen's Gambit, of pushing the pawns like this because where is the actual break? I don't know if I like this because it feels like White's pieces are targeted here, very central. And this is a bit more focused on the queen side. Okay, c5, like he's still preparing it. You could see the d file open and some danger. But, yeah, these type of pawn pushes never seem to work out as well as I want them to, but maybe that's a me problem. Now, a lot of the other games so far are relatively peaceful except for one, which I think we should go to. This is board 3. Now, Asuka was able to hold his game last round, but he started off kinda similar in a bit of a tough situation early on, and this might even be tougher than last game. We have already seen one game with an f4, g4 type attack, and, well, this one looks really scary. This knight pressing on the king side very convincingly. This knight struggling for a square. It only has one legal square, which is not it's really not what you want a knight to almost ever be doing, although it should be said that, the knight's hanging, so somewhere you can optimistically hope for some sort of trick, but it's not the end of the world if this knight needs to drop back. The thing I like about David Peng's position is even though he's extended the pawns pretty far, he solidified these very well. And I think that was showcased quite nicely by the concept of knight f3 and how even with knight f3, this was still guarded. This has shifted a bit. Asuka has moved his queen to d7, so now knight f3, g4 would be falling. That restricts that ability. Not that I'm saying we 100% wanted to play knight f3, but a little bit of pressure little bit of pressure, trying to fight back on the structure. I love this move though. Rook C3 is brilliant. Now David Pang, yeah, I mentioned that Craig Kilby took first, but I mean, it should be said David Pang in his own right was a fantastic contender and had a fantastic season. Even though he didn't quite get first, he really, really led the way for his team and put up some fantastic results all throughout. And I think we're seeing why. I mean, this rook is looking to come over every piece. Like, if you ever wonder how strong players just make these attacks come together. Well, look at how every single one of the pieces are involved. Now, this is far from over. I'm talking so highly about White's position and everything that's going, but this is still a wall that you have to break through, and that's not always so easy. Now, this method of attack is exactly what you want to do. You bring all your pieces into the game, and even if you don't 100% have the crushing blow right here and now, when you bring pieces to one side of the board, you get the pawns involved. So often, these attacks, these breakthroughs start happening. Now, it could be a time for knight f3 as a consideration to bring it to G5. No, something about that I don't like. G5 feels like a fake threat. Asuka trying to get some of his own play going with C5, and David trying to stop it. I'm actually not 100% sure. Like, maybe you go for bishop d3 at the right moment. Like, you really press on f5, because the one really awkward thing while this is a wall is if you ever do take on g4, pawn takes, and this pawn is potentially jumping into f5, like everything starts to crumble. So f5 feels, even though it's very well protected, like maybe the focal point we want. But credit to Asuka, he's trying to create some sort of counterplay, which is exactly what you want. Even if you feel like you have a solid defense, you got to give your opponent something to worry about. You can't just let them have free reign over the position. Now, glancing at the other games, I think we do shift to board four. Actually, most of the time I've been focusing on the top two boards, but so much has happened in this game already. Where'd all the pieces go? There's the bishops are gone, the rooks are gone, the queens have been traded, and okay, there's one bishop. My bad. Bishop on e7. Don't hate me. Uh, and Matthias, yeah, I want to say he's better, and it feels that way. I mean, this knight comes to c3. He has this nice pressure. This knight on h6 feels very awkward, but the next step is my question. Okay, you got this knight, you have this pressure. What are you doing next? Now, Maggie, I played a fantastic game, even though we didn't see much of it in that last round. Absolute fantastic player. I took a look at on the pick at the game a bit, and I'm like taking notes because she destroyed a Dutch defense, which I always will take a little bit of help in those close positions. But here on the defensive, but doing a good job of it. This bishop really keeps this knight at bay. This knight, it just kind of exists. I don't know what to say about this knight. It's really the bishop that's doing the heavy lifting, but maybe you say somewhere this knight's keeping these pawns in check because you have to be careful about it jumping in. Like, if you do push g5, this could be a consideration. Take, and then the knight jumps into f5 there. So it's a little bit tricky. G5 does get played. So what's the plan? Take, knight f5 and b5. This is a little something. I think other than the knight being a little bit awkward, Matthias, I have to slightly prefer him just because his king feels a little bit more active. I mean, this king on c6 is not bad, but the king is stuck. And when it comes to endgames, the king turns into an absolutely fantastic piece, and just the fact that White's king has a little bit more freedom here feels quite positive to me. So I want to stay with this game just for a little bit longer, just for a few moves to see how Matthias tries to approach this. I still don't think there's a clear plan. I think what he's doing is smart, especially considering the time control. But do I quite see a breakthrough? No, but just improve the structure. Probably try and improve this knight somewhat soon is a great idea. Now, as I say that and waiting on a few moves, there is an update. So I'm sorry. I was just kidding. We do need to go to board one. Board one has finished in a draw. I was kind of feeling, I mean, not exactly this, but yeah, the fact that Black's position is just surprisingly solid. Edward Song didn't quite get any leverage. And somewhere here, it just turns into a repetition protecting this weak F3 pawn. And they call it there. So board one is out of play for this match. Oh, let's go to the one game that we haven't checked on, board two. I'm going to keep a close eye on boards 3 and 4. I feel like we could see big developments there anytime. But let's not forget about these two great players. And here, this is a bit funny. I normally wouldn't be a huge fan of isolated pawns, but I remember hearing once this principle about isolated pawns that's always stayed with me. Uh, because when I was first learning chess, I was always taught their weakness. And then I remember hearing once that whether they're weak or not, often, if not always, depends on who controls the square in front of it. The thing about an isolated pawn is it really opens up the side of your position, but this side of the position is open. There's no pawn to protect this. So if the opponent is able to control this, then that pawn not being supported by another pawn becomes a target. But if you control it, that openness around the pawn, which I feel like is what we're seeing here, does become quite valuable. It was the first time I heard it that I'm like, oh, okay, I feel like I'm starting to understand isolated pawns. And you see it. I mean, Christopher with the isolated pawn is fully controlling the square in front of it, and evaluation is saying it is better for him. Now there are more than it's just some positional things here. Definitely some tactics. If you do take on d4, this is starting to feel a bit awkward. Okay, I'm going to simply protect this, say rook c1. Well, I'm going to go after this knight. What's the big deal? I don't mind a trade. Knight e2 forks your entire household. Uh, that's a huge problem. Definitely not something you wanna see. So this queen d4, very sneaky because it could feel like a just a positional, like white had a good queen, let me trade it. But no, this knight on d4 becomes very strong, especially without the queen, because the queen is a great defender. Alex Bien trying to hold on, queen f3 played, and this knight jumping into e4. Now, we don't have the same tactical motifs with knight e2, obviously, but after taking, I mean, you could just take with the pawn. You have some very active. I see a very active rook, queen. All that. Oh, actually, I didn't hate the queen trade last time. Every way you could take, every way you take on e4 feels like a possibility. Queen takes e4 might be the most solid. Once again, eyeing this knight d4 idea. You clear the square and get ready to bring it in. Here, Alex avoiding the trade, bringing the knight back to e2. I don't know what to make of this. I mean, you could say practically keeping pieces on the board could open up something later, but knight e2 just knight feels so sad there. Like it kind of hurts me. So I think we gotta say for now at least, for definitely pressing on board two. With that, I want to go back to board three because I'm seeing some big developments over there. This was where it felt like Asuka was very much on the defensive. And just to go back a little bit, so yeah, right around here on the defensive, that knight on f3. I was eyeing this move, but something about it just didn't sit well. Okay, he did go back, and apparently he needed some sort of g5 because the pawn struggles to go to h5, start to open up the king side that way. Asuka finally got his c5 in, starting to break through and breathing a little bit. I mean, the computer is struggling on deciding exactly how it feels about this position. Um, and me as well. And there I don't know how I feel about this rook b1. Like, you can't take it, obviously, because the queen hangs. But I just feel like you're playing with fate a little bit. Like, you're just leaving the rook there. It's in danger. Okay, it should be fine. There's so many pieces here. Queen d6, and he immediately takes on g. He goes for the sacrifice. Wait, someone outcalculated someone else. And wait, you just hold on. Check, check. Did Asuka miss? I think he might have missed that king h1. This is not repetition. The king did not have to go back into being pinned. So now queen h4, you simply lose the queen. Was it something like this? Or he may have just missed queen takes d5, because if rook protected, actually, then you're going to have some problems with queen h5 and the king having to come out here, and this is going to lead to checkmate. So potentially just a huge miss from Asuka, and he is, I mean, he's just down a piece. He's in trouble. Okay, I maybe I can't say just down a piece because the king is still open. There's some potential danger, but queen e4 hits the rook. I mean, who's fully in danger here? This would be a huge result for Jane Street, who is also looking good on board two. Jane Street right now is looking like they might take it. I also am going to point out Jane Street won the tiebreak board. So JP Morgan on the back foot. They need to get 2.5. They cannot win this on a 2-2 score since they lost that tiebreak game, which makes this result, I mean, massive. All Jane Street would need is another draw to clinch victory. I do like this move, queen f5. Rook e1, the idea is queen e4. Yeah, it's I want to say it's hidden, but really it's not. I mean, we're up a piece. We definitely want to trade queens. And this knights can be such pesky defenders. They just cover the squares really well, keep the king safe. I can't tell you how many times with a queen that I've been banging on the door against the knight as it just covers the squares that my queen wants to use. And yeah, this is looking good. I don't think we need to stay with this after this rookie one. I think we should actually go back to board two and follow through on that because it is looking good for Jane Street. Christopher Yang is 1-2 pieces for a rook. How did this happen? Oh, that knight on a e2 ended up falling, and the bishop on f4 with it. And now these two knights are not, yeah, I wouldn't say are my favorite piece combination. When I can have two pieces, whether it be from trades, whether it be a material imbalance, two knights can be a little bit awkward compared to bishops that have such a wide range of movement. But knights work fantastic with a queen. And here, like, I'm just this is looking very good. The knights can jump in here, it can jump in here, it can jump in here. Like the queen on c2, just pressuring the rooks, I think does a fantastic job at letting these knights do whatever they want. And okay, the knight's gonna stay there, keeping the rook guarded. And he's pushing the pawn. What are you doing with the knight now? You're gonna see it. Yeah, just drop back, just keeping it very solid. I would have loved to see these knights jump in and create a bit more havoc. But this is a very solid. This to me is understanding I'm on a team. Like this to me is I'm on a team. Like I'm gonna play this solid. I'm gonna keep things close because I mean for the record, Christopher he wants to win and winning would be good. But there's also a chance that a draw is good enough. So as long as he can keep everything protected, everything solid, that puts Jane Street in a very good spot. The rook's trying to defend. That pawn's still just running. It's it's this rook just guarded by this knight just is you can't do anything about it. And you have to be a little bit nervous about this knight c3 idea that could be on the horizon. I don't anticipate this knight's going anywhere, but it could jump into f4 at the right moment and start to create some attacks on the king side. A big pause, but not a lot of time left. There's still 3 games in this match, boards 2, 3, and 4. They're getting low on time. Just glancing the other boards, but I think the results are somewhat standing. David Pang for Jane Street pushing for the win on board 3. Christopher Yang, we're gonna stay with this game, looks to be pushing for the win here. And then Matthias, that end game, we saw it only briefly, but he still kept like a slight advantage in that end game. Maggie Fang, I mean, for JP Morgan, I feel like to have any chance, she probably needs to pull out that end game. Somehow just get a pass pawn running. This is where some of these team events get really annoying, and obviously there are individual tournaments that this can happen when you know you need to play for a win. And I feel like JP Morgan, if they have awareness of the other boards, if they know they're lost on the tiebreak, like they have to feel it. Although with that said, wait a second, Asuka might be saving his game. Okay, we gotta jump there. That is a huge development. I thought this was gonna be a clean win, but David looks like he got a little too fancy. Wow, okay, just to go back. So this is gone into an endgame. This is a dead draw. The knight will a knight by itself can't win. At some point it likely is getting sacrificed. So let's go back for just a moment. He sacked the queen. He thought his pass pawn was gonna be good enough, but, I mean, ironically, it felt like Asuka earlier missed some checks for David Pang to just comfortably stay up the piece, and now it feels like David Pang may have, missed some checks in order, uh, when he gave back he didn't give back a piece, he gave a queen. So that game ends in a draw, which means we go back to board 2 because if Christopher wins this, it's over. They have another draw, they have the tie breaks. He sacks his queen as well, but he sacked his queen for 2 rooks, and okay, this pawn is a little bit more convincing. The knight's jumping into b2. This will be it. This should be the game that decides it, and there it is. Result is in. Christopher Yang gets the win and gets not just the individual win for himself, but the win for the team. Even though there is still one game going on, because board 5 was won by Jane Street, they win the tiebreak. So even if Maggie was able to win this for JP Morgan, they win it. First of all, I mean, we could go over this game, but big congratulations to Jane Street. They get their second NACCL title, which is, I mean, just a great deal for the draw. Possibly they were aware that the match was over. And so Jane Street takes the crown. Wow. Wow. I don't know. I didn't expect it. I mean, in these time pressure, you just never know. I thought they were gonna win on board 3, but they drew there. But Christopher, with his knights dancing around, is able to clutch the victory for them. It's been absolutely fantastic to follow this event and follow Jane Street. As I said, with the first season I came into, Jane Street won it, so I've kind of become like a personal fan, just in following their games and following their results. I try not to be biased when I talk about it, but they finished the 6 weeks in number 1. They came into the knockout, and they were able to follow through on that performance in the regular season. Just an absolutely incredible performance. Now let's go to the brackets and show. I'm wondering if we can see some other placements here, but I'm realizing I need to pull it up myself. So don't be confused. Capital One PwC, it shows 2.5, but Capital One did win the tiebreak. So they're board 5. Black had draw odds, and it did end in a draw. So even though it is an equal result, Capital One takes 3rd. So that is our top 4 places. We have Jane Street in 1st, JP Morgan in 2nd, Capital One takes 3rd, and PricewaterhouseCoopers takes 4. Now before we finish, we will be interviewing the captain, the team captain, from Jane Street. So don't go anywhere. But while we get that set up, we're gonna take a break. And yeah, hopefully get to see the inner workings of Jane Street a little bit and the team. I'm looking forward to it. So see you soon.
Your favorite creator can now be your very own chess coach. Choose your favorite chess personality and they'll join you in game review, puzzles, lessons, and play coach. Pick up tips from Hikaru.
Oh my gosh, this is just taking material. Takes.
Test your tactics against Gotham chess. Or learn about the importance of queen safety with Andrea and Alex.
Got your queen!
Want to learn from the GOAT himself? We got you.
Hey, I'm Magnus Carlsen.
Explore which chess personality sharpens your game. Playing and learning chess has never been so exciting. Who are you picking?
Why do you think accessibility is so important for all members of the community, not just those who rely on the tools?
We always talk about the curb cut effect, right? Where curb cuts were created for wheelchair users initially, but who benefits from curb cuts? It is people that have strollers, suitcases, a delivery person. Again, when you make tools accessible for persons with disability, that benefit trickles down to everyone. And also there's a connection with disability and also as we age and as a population. Also, we always talk about people without disability, they're temporarily abled. Any of us can gain a disability at some point in time. There's so many different so many different variables of why accessibility is an important variable for every single member within our society. And one last thing, for instance, people don't realize text messaging came from the deaf community. And we all use text messaging. There's so many examples of those that came from the disability accessibility lens. That's why accessibility is important for everyone.
What do you think Chess.com can do better to overcome these barriers?
I think Chess.com and what I love about it is that they're on this journey of making their platform accessible for all, including persons with disabilities, for players with disabilities. They're being very intentional about it. I think the more that we bring in the voices of players with disabilities and different types of disabilities to the table to understand what are the current barriers players are facing, how do we break down those barriers, and how do we approach design, implementation, and kind of also feedback loop through making sure the disability community is at the table.
Having a laggy internet connection, but still wanting to play Bullet.
You said bullet. I was thinking you would say blitz. That makes it more difficult. I think in general, that's probably a green flag. So that speaks sort of to the passion that you have for the game, that in spite of the connection, you're still trying. I would actually give a better example that even though he doesn't have a laggy connection, my stepfather plays a lot of bullet on Chess.com, even though his rating is all the way down to 1400.
Red flag.
Red flag?
Yeah, you should just take the hint.
Green flag, it again shows that you're absolutely addicted to chess and you will endure the frustration and everything. So I love that.
Red flag, I guess, is the correct answer there.
Bringing the queen out early in the game, if it's part of a broader strategy to sometimes do that to confuse your opponent, then that's a good thing. But as a rule, probably not so much. Slight red flag.
Let's say red flag.
Oh, no, don't do that. No, that's a red flag.
Green flag.
Well, I'm guilty of this, so it's hard to give it either. I think generally it's going to be a red flag. Generally. Not always, but majority of the time it's going to be a red flag.
Staring at your opponent mid-game while they're thinking.
Oh gosh, I think that's a red flag. And when I was a competitive player, some of my rivals, my main rivals, did that to me, and I felt so uncomfortable. At the same time, it worked. I felt intimidated. So maybe it works, but I wouldn't say to do that. No.
Definite green flag. It shows that you're intense and you're into the game.
That's probably a red flag, but I think that's something most of the kids do, so I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Saying check out loud every time you check your opponent's king.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Please don't do that. That's red. That's so red.
Big red flag. Unless they're under 10 years old. Then it's kind of okay.
Green flag in YouTube Shorts.
Okay.
Welcome back, and so excited to be here. This is the final event of this season of the North American Corporate Chess League. Welcoming in the team captain for Jane Street, National Master Christopher Yang. Welcome. First of all, how are you feeling? I mean, I know that's a general question, but
yeah, I mean, heart's pumping, blood's flowing. We got a lot of like exciting games we were playing here. A lot of the games come down to like a little bit of time pressure, and it's really tough to manage that as well. So, definitely really happy to be able to play these exciting games, and yeah, really happy we came out with the win.
yeah. So I mean, you finished up there with a fantastic game. I mean, those knights just dancing around was it was so very good. Um, but I'm curious, like how aware are you of the results of the other games while you're playing? Like, are you just in your zone? Are you paying attention to them as well, or what's the
Yeah,
deal?
so actually in the rules, you're not allowed to even look at the other games while you're playing. So I'm just like in the zone, focused, making sure I'm playing the best moves I can, and then hopefully like the results pan out in our favor, and glad they did today.
Yeah. Uh, no, I actually didn't realize that was against the rules to do so. Um, for the regular season and just in general for Jane Street, I mean, how is the vibe? How is the communication? Is it pretty chill? Are you guys engaged pretty much? What's the deal there?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like we're all pretty chill about it. Like it's pretty busy at work every day. So, I really appreciate the guys, being able to play like Jacob, David, Mateus, and Max all coming out to, participate tonight. There's definitely no pressure or expectation at all to, come out here and devote your Thursday night to playing chess. And we just all kind of do it because of the love of the game. Um, but yeah, like I think that, we have a pretty good like chess culture in the firm, and we're actually about to start our kind of internal, chess league. So pretty excited for that as that comes around.
Wow, internal chess league. Tell me just a little bit. You don't have to go into too much detail, but I mean, coming from the corporate chess league, and implementing that, even further on a more personal scale, is very fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. So like kind of every summer when the interns get here, we have a whole like, chess league where we run kind of a round robin sorted by like kind of your rating. It's a good way to get to know the interns, and it's also, kind of fun to like play some of your coworkers and, see how they are, if they're rusty or if, they're still pretty sharp.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Um, I want to ask, what's the biggest challenge in doing this? Is it a scheduling thing? Because you said you're very busy, or something else?
Yeah, the scheduling is a little bit tough, but also just like kind of playing through the rust, right? A lot of us used to play out super actively back in the day. But now, that we're like working full time, we don't really have as much time for chess. So just making sure that, sometimes you're playing reasonable moves and, making sure you're not blundering or anything like that. And just kind of like dealing with the time pressure of playing, kind of a rated, like, timed game. That's also a pretty big, just challenge and different from like kind of the silly games or like silly buckhouse that you might play with your friends. So just kind of getting to that serious mindset again takes a little bit of effort.
Yeah. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Really, really glad that you joined, and obviously, like I was saying this on commentary. Jane Street, they won the season that was kind of the first season I was involved in doing commentary, and so I enjoy watching, I enjoy following. But just for any other corporation, or even just from someone that's part of a corporation and feels like they have lost that chess a little bit, do you have any advice for them as far as getting involved, still making chess very enjoyable, and not losing it once they get into the working world?
Yeah, I would say it just doesn't take that much time to, devote. It's, this league is like 6 weeks long plus like 1 week of playoffs. So it's just like not too much time of a commitment. And, just with some tactics and with some practice, it's like not too bad to get back into it. So hopefully now I'm a little bit sharper and I can, play some more blitz and hopefully be ready for the next season.
Oh, that's great, and I'm excited to hear that those words. Excited for the next season. It's always a joy to have Jane Street be a part of it. A pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for joining, and just huge congratulations to you and everyone there. I mean, a fantastic result. I could not have asked for anything better from Jane Street. So thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Hayden.
Well, that concludes this season, season 13 of the North American Corporate Chess League. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. I've said it many times throughout all this. It is an absolute pleasure. I love chess. I love how it brings people together. And sometimes in the individualness, as we sit at that boards and we compete, I feel like a little bit of that can be lost. And so having these events, having leagues where they can come together, or as Christopher's talking about, where you get into the working world and you lose a little bit, just being engaged, still enjoying it, still having fun, is an absolute beautiful thing. Absolute pleasure to be a part of. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you in season 14 of the North American Corporate Chess League. Until then, take care.